Hey, what's up, Spencer? My name is Everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about Euphoria while I desperately pretend like my Airbnb host can't hear me from the other room. So I've been hearing nothing but good things about Euphoria since it came out about 3 years ago, but seeing as I don't have HBO, I figured it would be one of those shows that I just happened to never run across. But thanks to my bitch Sammy, I was able to see it. A couple weeks ago, my friend Sammy called me up and she asked me if I wanted to help her babysit some dogs at a mansion that had a heated swimming pool, a hot tub, and an 80-inch flat screen TV. Of course I said yes, which of course led to me having to watch after 3 dogs who just pissed and shit all over the house the whole weekend. But the upside to it was I was able to finally see Season 1 of Euphoria. And while I totally understand what the craze is about, I totally get it, I absolutely binged this. There was actually still a lot of things that I didn't super like about it, especially as I got farther into the show. For anyone who's not familiar with Euphoria, the show follows 17-year-old Rue, who was just leaving rehab after having an overdose over the summer. Rue was one of those really unlikable characters who you still really care about, you still want her to find happiness, despite the fact that within 5 minutes of getting out of rehab, she does some drugs and then pays somebody for clean piss. And shortly after getting out of rehab, Rue runs into Jules at a party, and that is when they start off their torrid love affair that will both bring them closer together and tear them apart. So like I said, there were a couple of things about this show that I didn't like. The first one being that I didn't understand what the characters' motivations were by the end of the first season. For example, in the second to last episode, Jules completely destroys her relationship with Rue for no reason. So like, I understand that she went and visited her friends and there was this one girl who reminded her of Rue, and because she was coming to terms with her feelings for Rue, she ended up sleeping with this girl, but like, why would she then tell Rue about that? Like, yeah, I understand wanting to be transparent and open with your partner, but like, maybe busting it down on the dance floor isn't the best place to tell the person who you're in love with that you fucked somebody else. And then Jules tries to get Rue to run away with her? Why? Who would say yes to that? Hey, so like, just let you know, I like really like you a lot. I totally figured it out when I was with my friends the other weekends. There was this girl who looked just like you, and so I ended up fucking her. Isn't that like totally crazy? What?
You should leave your loved ones behind and join me in a distant land.
I also ended up turning off the last episode halfway through, but I think that has a lot more to do with me than it does with the show. I currently work in an acute psychiatric facility, which means that I work with a lot of people who come into the ER after struggling with addiction, and the entire last episode of this season was just Rue and her sponsor talking about her addiction and how it affects relationships with others and how relationships affect her addiction, and everything about the conversation is a conversation that I have had with people several times over. And so I personally was not interested in sitting around for 45 minutes listening to a conversation that I was going to have with somebody this very next day. So I'm sure for people who are not familiar with how addiction affects people, or people who are personally struggling with their addiction, this was probably like a great episode, but me, it had just already felt like I had watched the episode like 12 times before, and so I personally was just like, okay, yeah, whatever. Now, let's talk about the part where Jules was locked up. So around the midpoint of the show, we do unlock a bit of Jules' backstory, in which we learn about when she was placed in a long-term inpatient psychiatric unit when she was about 10, and I have to say, I hated the way that this show portrayed the unit. As somebody who also works on a long-term psychiatric unit, I actually work on 3 psychiatric units, I can tell you that there are quite a few things that this show got wrong, or not necessarily wrong, but made me feel very So first off, I do have to give Euphoria credit for one thing that they did do with accurately portraying psych hospitals, and that was to not make everything white. Jesus fucking Christ, this is my biggest pet peeve when it comes to watching movies or show where people are in psych units. For some reason, I have no idea where this stereo came from. For some reason, everything is white, the clothes are white, the walls are white, everything is white, and let me tell you, that ain't how a fucking hospital is. I keep on seeing somebody move outside the window, it's freaking me out. So no hospital in the world is white, because that shit is impossible to get clean. I mean, I can't even get a housekeeper to come up and clean up some juice that somebody spilled on the floor. You think that I'm gonna be able to get somebody to like magic erase the entire, every square inch of this place? Hell fucking no. So white is just not a healing color at all. When we're in psych units, we really want to create like a feeling of like peace and calm, and so we'll usually use colors that kind of exude that. Typically like the color red. So the thing that really got me about this part was the fact that they made it seem like Jules was being thrown in a psych unit for being trans, as opposed to the fact that she was engaging in some very serious self-interest behavior. While someone would have been placed in a psych unit for being trans in the 50s, we took out homosexuality as a mental health disorder in 1973, and trans identity disorder was officially changed to gender dysphoria in 2013. So, while it was likely that Jules was admitted to the unit for self-injurious behavior related to feeling very gender dysphoric, she was not put in the psych unit for being trans. And it was the order that they shot it in that really made it seem like she was put there for being trans as opposed to being put there for hurting herself, because we see her go into the psych unit first and do some serious self-harm second, which makes the storyline makes it seem like the reason why she's hurting herself is because she's in the psych unit, not that she's in the psych unit because she's hurting herself. And this is such an incredibly important distinction to make. Holy crap. If we want trans individuals to actually be able to get mental health help, we need to make it seem like they're going to get help and not locked up for their entire life just for being trans.
Hey, so this is Editing Spencer, and as I was going through this, I realized that I really wanted to put some statistics to really emphasize my point of what I mean about it being important for transgender individuals to feel comfortable with being able to go and get mental health help. So mental health disorders are so incredibly rampant in the community that trans individuals are 4 times more likely to have a mental health disorder than cisgender people, to the point where almost 40% of trans people report that they have attempted suicide. And obviously, this is just the people who are like comfortable enough to be open about the fact that they attempted suicide. So with that, about 40% of transgender individuals express that they are having severe psychological distress, which is why suicide is the #1 killer in the transgender community, and why it is so important for us to be able to have trans people get access to gender affirming healthcare. So clearly this is a very, very serious issue in which if we make it seem like if you go and get mental health, then you're going to get hurt as opposed to help, then more trans people are just gonna die. Proper mental health help is just as important as getting gender affirming healthcare for trans people. Alright, back to the regular video.
I was also very unhappy with the way that they showed how the quiet room works. Basically, like, this scene was only like 5 minutes long, and a lot about it pissed me off. So while the doctor is giving Jules a tour around the unit, she actually ends up showing Jules the quiet room while there is someone in it. Which, of course, makes him very upset, in which the doctor replies, "Now you've earned another 30 minutes. That's not how quiet rooms work." First off, we would never ever show a new patient a quiet room that has an old patient in it who is clearly actively aggressive, because that's going to make them that's the exact opposite of the point of the quiet room. The point of having a quiet room is that it is a space for people to go to when they are feeling extremely overwhelmed with their feelings and don't know how to handle them. Shows always like to portray that, like, if you have the slightest negative emotion on a psych unit, they immediately like grab you and strap you down and like throw you into the seclusion room, when that's not how it works at all. You really need to be at an escalated level to even get to that. We have several levels that we go through before you go to the QR. We go through verbal de-escalation, which is when we talk about it, talk you down. It's okay, take a deep breath. We got medication or PRNs, which we use to help calm down when we're really stressed. We have open seclusion room, which is when you go in, just chill out, hang out until you're feeling better, then you can come out and we can talk about it. Or that is when we finally go into closed door seclusion. We only do that if somebody is trying to hurt somebody else, or if they are trying to hurt themselves. That is when we have to then put them on the restraint board or in a restraint chair. The most important detail to this fact is that nobody can earn an extra 30 minutes in the quiet room or on the board or anything, because it's not a fucking timeout for a toddler. These things are used when we're trying to help people get through the most incredibly high anxious point of their emotion, and once they have gotten over this hump and are coming down, that is when they are allowed to come out. Yes, if I walked up to the quiet room, this person was screaming at me and spitting at me, they are absolutely going to stay in the quiet room, but they're not going to stay in the quiet room for another 30 minutes. If 5 or 10 minutes from now, they have calmed down and they're like, yeah, okay, I'm feeling good, I think I can come out now, then they're going to get let out. There's no fucking time limit on this shit. Stop. Stop showing like treatment and things that should be treatment and need to be used as treatment as punishment, because it's not punishment. It's not supposed to be punishment. It's never supposed to be used as punishment. It always feels like mental health providers are shown as being these conniving people who only want to lock you up forever and take away all of your rights and like don't understand anything at all about mental health issues. They're just like so far gone that they're just slapping whatever diagnosis on whoever, and they don't give a shit about what actually happens to them, when this isn't true at all. Yes, there are absolutely a lot of things wrong with the mental health care system. There are definitely treatments that are not being used appropriately. There are definitely staff who are not as caring as they should be. But that does not mean that we should be portraying the mental health field as something that is just going to destroy your entire life, when the entire point of it is to help. Seeing things like that makes me feel, as a trans person, like I shouldn't try and go and see a mental health professional, because oh my god, what if they lock me up because I'm also struggling with self-harm and I'm trans? I don't want that. I want to be able to stay and keep doing all of my things. And because I saw this really negative portrayal on the media, I end up never going and getting any sort of mental health help, because I've created this false narrative in my head that if I go, I'm just going to get worse and people are just going to harm me the whole time. So we do need to continue improving the mental health care system, but we also need to encourage people to use the services that are out there. Half the reason why it's so hard to ask for help is because it seems so scary and people are terrified of what we're going to do when the only thing we're trying to do is help them get better. So although I didn't really understand what Jules' motivations were by the end of the season, and while I didn't really like how her backstory was portrayed, she is definitely my favorite character in this show. Oh, for reals, within the first 3 seconds of me seeing her on screen, I was like, yes, queen, put your dick in my mouth. Ugh. My favorite thing about her is she really seems like a combination between Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli, Manic Pixie Dream Girl, and that autistic trans girl stereotype that Tumblr is obsessed with, all merged together. I mean, look at her. She is so fucking cute. She's such a great character because the show doesn't super emphasize her transition or the fact that she is trans. They just portray her as a girl who is trans as opposed to a trans girl, as well as the fact that Rue is a girl who has addiction, not a addict girl. I guess what I'm trying to say is that Jules had a lot more depth to her character outside of the fact that she was just trans and that's it. My least favorite character is Kat Hernandez. You're telling me that this bitch is a sex worker and I don't get to see her titties at all? God, this whole entire time I've been so distracted by how different of a color my arm is to my face. Oh God, I hate this. Oh my God, you could... Jesus, I'm so... Fuck. Wait, no. Spencer, ADHD, get back to the video. What are you focusing on? That's right, Kate Hernandez is a bitch. And I never get to see her titties, not even once. She's supposed to be a sex worker and she is in a teddy the entire time. Are you fucking kidding me? Everyone else is out here showing their titties like it's Mardi Gras, and you got like a whole like 1950s lingerie look going on. Bitch, what the fuck? What the fuck? Not to mention the fact that her sex work job is incredibly unrealistic. Seems to be the theme of this video, unrealistic portrayals of mental health facilities and sex work. I am so glad that part of Kate's character arc was learning how to love herself despite being fat, but honestly, we're calling this character fat? This kind of reminds me of when we thought that Meghan Trainor was fat in 2014. So first off, Kat could have never been a cam girl because cam websites make you submit your driver's license and other legal paperwork to make sure that you are of 18 and to make sure that you are not being sex trafficked. Yes, Kat could have gone and gotten a fake ID, however, the show did not show her doing that, and also she even threw a whole entire fit over the fact that this is child pornography. So she hates it, but the second she be making bank off of it, all of a sudden child porn is okay, alright. Plus the media always portrays sex work as something being super easy where you can just lay there and men are gonna come into your chat room and just be like throwing them dollar bills on you when that ain't the way it fucking works. Instead, what you get is users who haven't signed up for the site and so they can't tip you, but instead they're going to spam the chat demanding that you do things for them, and when you suggest that you be compensated for these efforts, they call you slurs and downvote all of your videos and do things to try and report you to the company so that they can have you hate taken off of the website as opposed to like actually valuing you as a person. Like, let's not forget, these are men that we're talking about, guys. Any second that they can get to take advantage of a woman, they will. If you want to be the type of cam girl where you want to have people come into your chat and just give you a shit ton of money, you need to be an established cam girl. That's the only way it makes it happen. So with all that, I'm not really sure if I'm going to be watching season 2 or not, because I honestly wasn't invested enough in Jules. I wasn't invested enough in Rue and Jules enough to really see if they want to come back together at the beginning of season 2, and the way that they ended their relationship at the end of season 1, I kind of don't even care to see them back together. Wow, I'm gonna get some hate. I gotta say, I do really like Jules and Rue together, but I don't know, this is in the maybe pile for me. Overall, I would give this show 4 stars because it absolutely is binge worthy. I definitely recommend that you should go and watch it. A lot of people really do like it, and there's a good reason for it. The acting is incredible, the cinematography is amazing, the costumes are just on point. Just the glitter budget alone is it's stupendous. It's so quick paced, every single character is unique, there's really well fleshed out roundness to everything about it. So yeah, even though this was kind of a hate video for Euphoria, I still think that you should absolutely go and watch it. Tell me what you think about it. Have you seen it? Comment down below. If you've gotten this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. But besides that, make sure to stay safe, wear a mask, and have a fantastic day. Bye.